find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, and it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
coming down to the side. Have it! He's going to get it!
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it! Big Barry!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to another PRL race. It's time for Tier 2 here at Zandvoort, the fourth event of Season 12, and we're back in the Dutch Groens. We had a fantastic race last night, but we'll have to see if anything even more can go on tonight. Maybe a bit of rain, maybe some more safety cars. We'll have to wait and see. My name is Darragh Thacker. Joining me in the commentary booth is Joshua, Griffin, Meek, JGM, and Josh. Tier 2 back once again. We've got a nice championship battle forming. The likes of Shane up there after missing the first race. He's trying to stick his way near the front. But, you know, there's lots of drivers that you'd say have a chance here.
Absolutely, and I feel like last night was a perfect indication of what could really go down, because we had it all, didn't we? We had drama, we had last-minute moves, we had a battle for the lead throughout the entirety of the race, and overall we had some brilliant performances. The likes of Oliver Sequeira, who's here once again tonight, is looking to try and better himself once again after that phenomenal performance, looking to try and manhandle himself away around the circuit, because we know Zandvoort is one of those technical challenges for the drivers. In a setup department, a driving style department, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for these drivers to really try and craft their way through the field. And I can't help but think those who were here and reserved yesterday for the Tier 1 are surely going to have a much better opportunity to learn where those positions are, where they can kind of manufacture those overtakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that little bit of experience, isn't it, that you gain from doing the Tier 1 just as a reserve. Of course, the Tier 1 drivers don't really have that luxury, and sometimes there isn't always enough seats on the grid for everyone to have a go if they can. But for the drivers that did turn up and were able to reserve in yesterday, they're going to have some invaluable knowledge, invaluable know-how, I think is the word, for strategy, and as you said, for knowing where to make the moves and how you're going to make it work, defending, attacking. They're all going to know exactly what they need to do, but they're all going to be chasing Craggies. In that McLaren, he leads the way on 60 points. Shane, 51, he's rising up slowly but steadily, and RRL Beast, he had a very good race last week on 36. Don't forget Rapid OG, of course he was racing last night, I do believe, if my memory serves me correctly, but there are lots of Rapid drivers, so I may have got someone confused. But a few of these drivers, actually, likes of Finbop as well, with their crew steamers, they're going to have a go, and a few more guys. I mean, look further down, a few of these guys have not really been able to pull it off in the race, but have had good qualifying, people like CJQ.
Yeah, exactly. CJQ. Don War hops into mind as well. Collateral Zoom often finds himself around about that little midpoint, doesn't he? And I feel like this could certainly be a swing for them in this season, looking to move forward, looking to advance themselves. We've also had Patty Pat as well. He said openly in the little Discord chat all the drivers have, saying he's not a fan of his track. He doesn't feel like he's able to perform at it. So it'll be very interesting to see what that translates to, because we know a couple of drivers here and there, not going to mention any names from PRL, but they'll say they don't necessarily perform too well at certain circuits. They might struggle, and then they're able to pull out a worldie. I don't think Patty Pat could be one of those drivers, but if yesterday was anything to go by, anything could happen, and Patty Pat could very well be on track to get a race win here.
Well, you don't want to say that to Patty Pat's face, will you? He might not be too pleased. But, well, yeah, we'll have to see how he does. But I'm looking forward to this. Just overall, I mean, the championship picture generally is going to be interesting. We talked about it yesterday, the Middle Eastern rounds that are upcoming after next week at Austria, the likes of Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, they're really going to be quite indicative for the rest of the season. Really going to basically put the drivers into the fights that they're going to be, fighting around in the final couple of rounds. If you're in the top 3 or so, you're close enough to the title charge, you're going to be in that fight come Belgium and Great Britain. But if you don't pick up enough points in rounds 6, 7 and 8, you're going to find yourself a little bit further off. So I think when we come back from the mid-season break, of course, when we get into mid-April, I think they're the races where drivers are going to know that they're going to have to perform to make sure they're in that title hunt.
Yeah, do you feel like there's going to be more risks associated around the likes of Saudi Arabia, Qatar? They're traditionally somewhat similar track width to the likes of Zandvoort, if not more so to old Zandvoort, and how close all the walls used to be, limited runoff spaces. And I feel like going into that second half of the season, if the drivers, maybe not find them at perfect form, they might feel under pressure to try and make a couple more bold, audacious moves where they're risking an awful lot more than what they would necessarily around the likes of, Austria or Zandvoort or even Spain or Portimao that we've already seen. So for me personally, I'm very much looking forward to them, sort of seeing the dynamic of how the drivers, especially those chasing in the championship, are really going to be able to try and pull themselves back through if they end up not being able to pick up the destined results they necessarily want to this week or next week. Of course, Abu Dhabi is one of those circuits with its recent changes I very much like. I feel like we might disagree on that one slightly, James, but for me, I'm a fan. Darragh, I mean, how would you kind of try and position yourself towards the second half of this season?
Well, I was going to say fan of Abu Dhabi as well. It's always a good track for racing.
No, I've heard Mr. JPB's not a big fan of it.
Well, I like it. I think it produces some nice overtaking, some nice racing. Down into turn 6, down into turn 9. I do think they missed a little bit of a trick, though, on that track design. Only because I think if they made it so that you had a tighter corner at turn 9, because remember we had that chicane down there, didn't we? Even if you made it a 90-degree left-hander that rolls into a longer left-hander, but that opens out so you can go flat out, I think that'd be better for overtaking. But it does make some very, very good high-speed racing all the way through turn 9, but we'll have to wait for that for a few more weeks. We're back here at Zandvoort, we're on the track. Rapidoji is going to be the first one out on track, and we have got a full lobby of 20, Josh.
Absolutely, and have you noticed a full lobby of soft compound tyres as well? No one's trying to go onto those medium tyres like we saw yesterday. They're willing to risk it right from the get-go. It's very brave, especially considering how close we are to the beachfront and how easily the sand can get brushed onto the track and cause this track to become less rubbered in. So it'll take a couple laps for it to really get into that perfect state where it's, an optimal track surface for these tyres to be able to grip to. But there's no harm in going out on a set of soft tyres. Yes, you might waste a qualifying run, but it also just gives you a little bit of muscle memory heading forward to the next couple of runs in the qualifying session, because we do have 17 minutes here. It's already down to 16:30. And with how short the lap times are as well, you could realistically use every single set of soft tyres you've got available.
You can, but you've also got to think about, during the race, maybe towards the end of the race, you're going to have to be worrying about possibly a late safety car. Maybe you want to put yourself on a set of soft tyres, and we know that, the drop-off can be quite severe. A lap, 2 laps, 3 laps more wear can be quite degrading and really cut your chances if there is a late safety car. But again, that is going to be a long way away in the driver's minds, a good hour away in terms of that. But CJQ, he overtook Rapidoji on the outlap, and he's going to be the first one to set a lap time. Turn 1 is Tarzan. Got to make sure you take a tightish line through there, get the exit to turn 2. But the McLaren driver, he will be hoping to set another good lap time and show some good pace at the start of the race, I think.
Absolutely. It's one of those tracks. We saw it yesterday. We mentioned it yesterday. DRS is imperative. It'll help you dictate the pace of this race. It'll help keep the cars behind when you are in that DRS trade. It's a brilliant tool, sometimes used for the wrong reasons, and around Zandvoort, it's unfortunately one of those scenarios where it doesn't necessarily help with the overtaking, but more so helps with the defending in the DRS trade. So it's certainly going to be interesting. I wonder if we're going to see any more of a similar strategies where drivers are more than happy to burn through the battery, because of course there's a limited amount of recharge points around the circuit where you actually can go on the brakes, you get the heat into the brakes to generate the energy. So for me personally, it's going to be very interesting. We were suspecting them to sort of save a bit more battery for the second stint of a race, But at the end of the first stint, everyone was basically flashing with the battery limit, weren't they?
Yeah, and it's something that we've got to be thinking about for the drivers. ERS management, sorry, is going to be so key. As we see CJQ running through the final corner, going past that old line. They haven't removed that line, even though that was the old pit, or not pit line, the DRS activation point, I should say. It's a 10-7 for CJQ, a 9-6 for Rapid OG. I was speaking to Shane over the weekend, actually, and I told you this yesterday, Josh, but I did find out that the two McLaren drivers, CJQ and Craggy, is the father of CJQ, which I found as a fantastic fact. And it just makes me think that they work even better together when they're near each other on track. It's just a nice little fact for the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, surely you've got to think that, just leading over, looking behind them, saying, hey, you going out and qualifying? No, you can go out if you want. No, son, it's okay. I assure you, go out first, just so we can pick up a little bit of a tow. But it is lovely to see them be able to share moments like this and be able to participate in leagues. It's something they'll be able to look back for years to come, and it's just fantastic. I don't feel like there's a more suiting word for that, but it might be very awkward when it gets to dinner and there's been contact. That's all I'm going to put out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a frosty breakfast following morning, isn't it? But either way, Rapid OG's had a very, very fast time. Mythbusters has just popped himself up to P2 as well, but those two very much clear of the rest at the moment. Poloski and Monster, the two Mercedes drivers, currently on the second row, but many drivers yet to get a time on the board. Alberto Maracucho, he's in the Williams car, coming through this middle sector now. Through turn 9, he's about to swing himself. And I think swing is quite a good term, actually, for most of the corners around Zandvoort, because you're kind of half on throttle. It's not a slow corner, but you just kind of make sure the car's rotated, the rear end's not stepping out, but stepping out enough for you to get the rotation, to get yourself all the way through. Shane's gone P1, but, it's that track, we talked about it yesterday as well, lots of different lines you can take through many of the corners.
Absolutely, especially heading through Sector 1. I mean, you're looking at Tarzan, you could take a higher line, try and get more traction to try and get the power down before turn 2, turn 3. There's lots of sort of different scenarios and methods drivers can take, but I can tell you right now, Alboreto, that's probably not the best line to take. It's a good job you've already set your lap and you've ended up in P4 with a 1:10.1. Brilliant stuff, and we can expect to see these lap times keep creeping lower and lower with the track evolving and getting more rubbered in every single run these drivers do. But, you see, looking through this dune section here at the S's, it's absolutely fantastic. We mentioned it. It's very much like going out of Saint-Devant at Monaco, isn't it? Rising up the hill. Just the fact there's a little bit of grass between yourself, the track, and the wall. It's a brilliant circuit. It's got some very key characteristics. As you mentioned, swinging your way through the corners. A lot of them are, almost 180-degree corners, those of which aren't banked as well. You can gain so much time by trying to hit that late apex, because a lot of them end up having quite a quick run onto a straight. There's not necessarily too many, brief points, other than maybe this at the Audi S, where it's 180-degree turn, and then you've got such a short straight. But again, it all feeds into just making sure you can get that run heading to the line, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a difficult little circuit, and it's a very particular one. Not really many tracks like it, I should say. We're starting to see a few echelons forming in the times. Top 3 are quite close together. Then you look at the next 3, and then you look down to the next 3, and so on. So a few little groups forming at the moment. RL Beast, can he put himself into one of them? Yeah, kind of. Just at the front of that second group. He's 3.5 tenths, just over that, behind Mythbuster. But he's just over a tenth quicker than the guy in P7, Patty Pat. So there are little groups forming. We might start to see that during the race. A few DRS trains maybe pulling away from each other. But that's something we're going to have to wait on. Craggy's coming through this middle sector now. Oh, that's wide. That is not the line you want to be taking. And this will not be a fast lap for Craggy. He might come into the pit lane. You can see that ERS has been turned off as well. And he's going to have a rethink, I think.
Yeah, back to plan A. Having to go all the way back, maybe wants to try and give it another go, but he's got a lot of work to recharge that battery from 40% all the way up to 100. He's going to have to do some serious brake dragging, but at the same time, he does have an Alpine hot on his tail, and I do believe that is Collateral Zoom, who's looking to set a lap time as well. So he won't be able to brake drag himself through these couple final corners. He's going to have to get he's going to have to get a move on realistically, isn't he, to try and dive it back into the pit lane, get a new set of tyres on as well. But Collateral Zoom takes a short run up to the line, where he's going to be able to put himself up into P6 with a 1:10.1, splitting Dinarte and Alberto. It's looking very tense in that second pack, isn't it?
It is. It's looking close. It's looking quite cagey, not much between the times. We might see a grid which could throw up some racing early on. Look at Vintage coming through the final couple of corners in his Alpha Tauri car. Already was flashing at the rear, I think. So maybe not the best of times. Maybe he's going again, but an 11.8. I mean, it doesn't say to me that he's backed off. Maybe he just went flat out to warm the tyres, and now he's using the ERS. Maybe that's something that's going on, but we'll wait and see on that one. Rapid OG, though, look at this. This could be a very fast time.
Absolutely. We know he's capable of bouncing that car in ways that other drivers just don't seem to be able to. He can definitely dial it into the circuit, and one thing he's lucky to do is dial it past that Alpine car. He does a magnificent job, but he did end up running it a little wide for that corner. But, same time, having a little bit dirtier in front of you wouldn't have helped. So, it's good he's been able to navigate himself past the Alpine before clunking it over this Audi section, keeping it nice and tight to that inside line there, trying to minimise the distance before reaching the start-finish line, or the timing line, in this case, for qualifying. He takes 13 here. You can see him keeping it nice and shallow. Brilliant stuff there from Rapid OG. It makes me wince every time they go through the banked corner, and he's able to improve a lap time there up to 1:09.4. Brilliant stuff so far, but we do have some more drivers coming through on quick laps as well.
We do, but I mean, half a second quicker than the man at the back of the second row. Like, it's a very, very good time, and Rapid OG is asserting some dominance over this group. Mythbuster, a little bit down in that middle sector. Must be hoping that he had a very poor final sector on his opening run. Let's see, through the final corner, that DRS is still wide open as he runs to the line. Can he improve? Yes, he can, but just minorly. It's just a 1/100th of an improvement. Barely anything at all. That, I mean, the difference between those two times is maybe a shorter run through one of the corners. Really not much time gained at all. Polowski has invalidated his run, but we have got times from 18 drivers, so we're starting to get a better picture of this qualifying session, but you'd think some of the drivers can squeeze another couple of runs, can't they?
Absolutely. A couple of these drivers are going to be taking a little prep time, making sure they're working with tyres, make sure they're not completely shredding them, cooling them down properly before diving it back into the pits. Every percentage of life they can save on these tyres makes it just a little bit more likely that if the safety car does come out, they've got a set of tyres they're able to fight on towards the end. I mean, we mentioned earlier as well, Enquiries using that experience he gained yesterday to find himself up into P5, beating the Beast's lap time, but you've got to think he's running it back to the pit lane now to set on a new fresh set of soft tyres. Feasibly, how much more is he able to improve? Will he be able to take the challenge to the likes of Myth, Shane and Rapid? Because you're looking at that gap, 4-5 tenths, it can be quite a bit.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, you think about it, during a 36 lap race, if you're losing half a second a lap, you're going to be 18 seconds down. That's nearly a full pit stop. So if you're a second down, you're going to struggle, I think, throughout the race. But we're seeing RRL Beast now coming to start another lap, I do believe. Currently in P7, of course, picked up that podium last week. And we'll have to see if he can repeat the feat this time around. Ferrari wouldn't mind the points in the Constructors' Championship. Shane, of course, trying to push for the Drivers' Championship himself. And with Craggy's not yet setting a lap time, it's not looking great for him. I've just seen Denart popping up into P3. Craggy's actually therefore goes into P5. You just see him cross the line. So he is now up in the hunt. And we are starting to see the times tighten a little bit at the front, aren't we?
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if we've still got 6 minutes on the board, but still an ample amount of time for these drivers to dive it back into the pits. Maybe even do another run on a scrub set of tyres, just to make sure they're fully prepped to go for that final outing on that fresh set of tyres, just giving them a little bit more confidence heading through this, very technical circuit, but like Sector 2. I'll keep mentioning it. You're looking at all the way from Turn 6 to, Turn 9? There's some of the most undriver-friendly corners possible. Some of them blind apexes, very quick movements, not necessarily breaking straight with the circuit. Can just be slightly off-putting for a couple of these drivers, but it's certainly not off-put Beast as he jumps himself up into P5. Brilliant stuff from him.
Yeah, great lap and fantastic stuff throughout this session so far. But we'll have to wait and see who does really come out on top. There's Shane. There he goes to the top of the timesheets. And that is quite a lap. A 9 flat for Shane. He's 4/10 clear of the rest of the field. That's a massive marker.
Yeah, it's certainly putting a statement out there, to say the very least. Brilliant lap time from Shane. But the question comes, have the likes of Rapid, Dinarte saved a set of soft tyres? Did they do that on a scrubbed set? Are they feeling confident to be able to ship it over to a fresh set of tyres and try and challenge that 109 flat, because it is a titanic lap time?
it's just very, very effective, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't take much, really, in the grand scheme of things. It just takes a very fast time to be put on the board, and your rivals are thinking, well, where can I make up that time? Where can I try and find that extra tenth, that extra half a tenth? And you end up overdriving the car and not improving exactly where you could be. This is getting congested down into the final couple of corners. Alfredo is on a fast lap. I don't know about that Ferrari. He wasn't on the fast lap himself. And I think it was possibly Beast there. Might come under a little bit of pressure from the stewards. But Alfredo, let's see where he can put himself now. Jumps up to P7. Only a couple of thousandths behind Craggy. So even though there are big gaps near the front, in the mid-pack, this is really tightening up.
Yeah, if we have a look quickly at the delta gap, we can see a 4-tenth gap from P1 to P2. But you're looking at 5 tenths from P2 to P11. It's ridiculously close. You know, I'll say it again and again. Consistency is the key to getting this championship, but at this rate, everyone's being so consistent. You might have to rely on a little bit of raw pace to try and guide you through maybe 1 or 2 of these rounds, because at the end of the day, all these drivers show up week in, week out, and they're always there or thereabouts, aren't they? Scoring the good handfuls of points. Of course, getting a good qualifying to get themselves that little boost of points in case something does go wrong in the race. They've got that little fallback mark where if they do want to try and go for bold overtakes, they have that option to be able to do that, still come home in a P10, P11, and still walk away with, you know, a good amount of points to their name relative to the rest of the championship.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really what they're looking to do at this stage of the season. Of course, it's not a very long season, only 10 rounds. Of course, in longer campaigns, you can really not too worry about races all of the time. You can kind of ebb and flow a little bit, but particularly in this championship, with points in qualifying, 8 for pole, all the way down to 1 for 8th, there's that added incentive just to go for that last push lap, maybe using that extra set of tyres that you wouldn't have otherwise used. Now, I think Shane there, you can see, he's finished his session. He is not going to partake any further, and that is the benchmark for everyone else to try and beat now. I think that 9 flat, 9.010, I've just had a look, would have been good enough to put himself P8 in qualifying last night in Tier 1. So a very good lap from him. Can anyone get close to it? That's the question. And I think Patty Pat's going to be the first driver to give it a go.
Absolutely, you've got to think now. We're getting to the end of this session. The track is heating up. It's getting into that perfect part where it's got enough rubber on the circuit. These drivers can push it a little bit harder to try every millimetre of this circuit just to try and improve their lap time. And that's where we're going to see the big differences through that sector, which Paddy Pat has just gone through. That middle sector is going to be absolutely critical for these drivers. Now the track is rubbered in. Now they have that option to really try and push for car. And you can see it right there. 5 tenths improvement from Paddy Pat, looking to try and put himself in amongst that top 5. He's certainly got the pace to do so around here. He's just got to make sure he delivers through turns 12 and turn 13. You see an AlphaTauri there, or another Alpine car, facing backwards into the gravel trap, making sure he was out of the way, didn't want to rejoin, didn't want to strike Patty Pat as he comes up towards the line here, and it's a 109.8, putting himself up into P6. Certainly not a bad attempt there.
Not at all, and putting himself near that front group of cars as well. Craggies won't like to see that. Down into P7 now. He's falling ever further back from Shane, of course, you'd say his championship rival at this stage of the season. Donwar, he's going to start another lap now, but here comes Craggies through the final corner banking. He is about a quarter of a second up through the second sector. Can he find a little bit more time? Maybe P3. It's P2. It's a front row for Shane and Craggies, 2 of the original drivers when this league started about 4 years ago, so they are going to be looking for a good fight throughout this race. Crazy is not going to be finishing his lap time, but Alberto Maracucho very much is in his Williams car, just about leapfrogs his teammate. But I mean, the times at the top, and even the drivers at the top, this is great for the championship.
Yeah, this is it's ridiculous. It's exactly what you would hope for. Get the drivers who are fighting for the championship up towards the front, especially around a circuit like Zandvoort, where it's going to be so difficult. You're looking down to turn 1. If any driver is able to get a good enough run, they could really try and cause a bit of pressure, try and force a mistake heading into turn 2, heading into turn 3. Again, we saw it was a very hot topic yesterday and last night on the broadcast about turn 3, the way different drivers were taking the line. The majority of them wanted to go low, but we did see 1 or 2 on different compounds of tyres trying to go for that high line and making it work to their avail on that starting lap. I mean, even the hard tyres seem to fire up really quick around here, which is, well, to say the very least, surprising.
Yeah, and I think we might see some different strategies here this evening. Lots of different options. A 1-stop, a 2-stop. I think they're both open, particularly in Tier 2. That 2-stop is something that the drivers can look to and maybe play around with, possibly try and get some clean air. That is a time near the top. That's Crew Steamers, I think, has just gone up into
Yep.
P4, and Beast put himself alongside his teammate on the front row. So a very strong top 3 for the time being. But I mean, the gaps are close. Look at that. Crazy as the timer hits 0. Crazy in the Williams pops himself up into P3. Oliver, he was here yesterday, got P4 in Tier 1. He's only P8 in qualifying here in Tier 2. It's DJQ who can only go P14 and stays where he is. But a couple more drivers coming to the line. I think it's going to be the likes of possibly Crew Steamers to try and unseat. Oh, and that is not ideal.
That's not exactly what we'd like. So, right, that's interesting. Let's check it back to the calendar screen and try and get this one sorted.
Well, let's see. It's going to be interesting just to see how these drivers can get away off of the line. And, of course, just to think about whether they can try and make moves, particularly on championship rivals. You think of the likes of Shane, you think of the likes of Craggies. They don't really want to be caught up with each other for too long or with other drivers. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But we'll try and get ourselves back into the game. It's a lovely game feature, isn't it, that it just says that you can disconnect. I mean, everyone can
Servers didn't even go down. I'm just saying, it's just chucked me out the game. Servers didn't even go down. Not sure what it's on about.
And the stream is still live.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It clearly shows that there's nothing wrong with your internet.
Wow.
But, yeah, this is...
There you go. Right, we're loading back in. Hopefully, we'll be able to catch final laps. If not, we'll at least be able to get a finishing order up for everyone.
But we'll keep an eye. We'll keep
EA Sports.
prodding around.
EA Sports. It's in the game. It's in the game, Darragh.
You've actually got in very, very quickly, I have to say, because if that was me trying to get back in, I wouldn't be doing it that quickly. And you've actually got in before we've even finished the session. Look at that.
Brilliant.
It's fantastic.
Speed run.
If that was me, it would have taken an extra minute at least. But there we go. You can see on your screen. Shane's fastest, then it's Rapid, then Beast, and then Crazy Idiot. It's Crazy Idiot. P4. Craggies, Mythbuster, and Crew Steamers. They're not that far away. Top 7 within half a second. Top 13 or top 14, you can just about see within that second. And this does set up quite an interesting field for the race.
Especially heading down into turn 1. I'm mentioning it again. We were on track for a Ferrari 1-2, and then Rapid OG puts out an absolute lap time to split the two Ferrari drivers. We saw them work together really, really well around Portimao. Could we be seeing a very similar thing here again today, where maybe one of the Ferrari drivers tries to back Rapid up just a little bit off the start so the other one can try and get a jump? Surely that'll be discussed between the two drivers. We know they communicate with one another. They know how to race. We've seen it before. I feel like there could be some team games going on here. Not to mention as well, we've got the two Red Bull cars starting on the grid alongside each other. Certainly a couple fireworks could happen there. But to run you through the qualifying order, we have Shane on pole position with that astounding 109 flat, with Rapid OG hot on his heels with 400 behind him. Then we've got a 2-step gap back down to Beast, who's going to be starting on the second row with Crazy I Do It, Craggy's P5, Mythbusters P6, Crew Stevens P7, Dinarte P8, Oliver Sequeira P9, Patty Pat P10, Alfredo P11, Monster P12, Alberto P13, Rapid Go for P14, CJQ P15, Collateral Zoom P16, Donwall P17, Peloski P18, Vintage P19, and just Komi-san with the qualifying bound starting from the back of the grid. Certainly going to be a little bit different for Komi-san to try and battle themselves all the way up through the field, especially around Zandvoort.
I'm just going to say, just out of thing, I've never actually read that as Crazy I Do It. But now I've seen it, you're right. I'm gonna use that from now on. My brain's never clicked.
You've just called Crazy an idiot for like the last, 4 weeks?
4 weeks. And I can only apologise. I mean, at the same time, it might also be an attempt at the spelling, just swapping the... Look,
Might just
I
be
can only
bad
apologise, but I will... I now see I do it. I now see it. But yeah, this race... Top 3, top 4, they might be hoping to get away, but we saw from the qualifying times, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tricky to break that DRS in the opening few laps. But, I mean, it's quite a long time until we do see the DRS around this track. Although it is a short lap, you don't really feel the effect of it down between turn 9 and 10, do you? So you're really waiting for pretty much a full 3 laps before the proper DRS first activation point.
And I feel like we could have a limited DRS running if you look at the clouds, Darragh. I hope you brought your umbrella to the commentary box, because we might be getting swamped out of it in a minute.
Well, I don't even know if I have an umbrella anywhere near me, actually.
Oh, no.
That's probably near the front door, but or of course the edge of the commentary box. But yeah, it's looking a little bit overcast. We've seen many a time though, where it's been overcast, but it's not quite got wet enough for the race. I don't know if we're going to have a formation lap. I think there may be a slight glitch yesterday. And I've also just seen, if you look at the top left-hand side of your screen, right in the corner, there is a man standing. Oh, we'll get rid of that because we're going to go into the formation. I was going to say there was a man standing there and there wasn't any protection from falling down, which was health and safety risk, but that's just my horse brain going mental. But Shane, he's going to get away. Look at the strategies, though. Rapid and Beast on the softs, they are going to be looking to get away. And if they don't get away, I think they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. But the guys in the hard suggest we're not expecting rain anytime soon.
Absolutely. It'll certainly be a building block scenario for those of a hard compound tyre. They're going to have to take this race with a load of little small goals in mind. The first one for Shane is going to be making sure he keeps the lead heading down into turn 1. And then every time after that, it's making sure he's able to pull some sort of a gap before approaching turn 12, turn 13. Because we know how powerful the slipstream is, the DRS down into turn 1 as well. You know, if he's not able to get a good enough run, if he's not able to prepare those hard tyres in the way he wants to make him, you know, an optimal grip level, he's very much going to be struggling, especially going through the banked corners in comparison to those soft tyres. But we saw yesterday, soft tyres, they didn't necessarily want to last forever. They seem to degrade at a almost alarming rate of knots.
And we did see some of the medium runners towards the end of the race really start to gain. I think it was one of the Williams, I want to say, that was making moves towards the end of the race.
Tintoretto?
P4 or P5. Sorry?
Was it Tintoretto?
Could have been, but I think it was his teammate. But the point I was making is, and that they were on like 8, 9, 10 lap old soft tyres, and they were starting to fall away to the medium. So we might have to see that. 2-stop possible for the guys on the softs, but again, 1-stop is also very much an option. Particularly the guys on the hards, can't see them going for the 2-stop. They're almost set in for the 1-stop. But the guys on the mediums, they can go either way.
Yes, absolutely. They've got the freedom, don't they? They can make whatever choice they want. And it's not necessarily even safety car dependent. We could see a very early pit stop for a couple of these drivers. If the safety car was to come out in the starting lap to try and chuck it to the hard tyres and try and nurse them all the way to the end, it would be a tall task. But you would have to consider, with a little bit of clean air around here, the tyres are so much more well off. They can almost go for, you know, 5-6 laps longer, just being able to have that cool air to cool them down. But we do have all 20 drivers now locked into their grid positions.
We do, so here we go. 36 laps of racing at Zandvoort. It's going to be fast, and it's going to be very much furious as we're about to get going. The 5 red lights at Zandvoort. We're in the dunes on the North Sea coast. It's a big championship battle brewing, but who can come out on top? The lights are gone, and we are away. Shane, it's difficult to see from this angle, but he's not got the best of starts on that hard compound of tyre. It's immediately into the lead for Rapid OG, who's taken that inside line through the opening corner at Tarzan. A couple of drivers off the road in the background, but the soft tyres working off of the lines. We see them dive through turn 2 and into this multifaceted turn 3, side by side between Patty Pat and Crew Steamers all the way through the banking. But it's the perfect start for Rapid on the softs. It's not the perfect start. They're the 2 Ferraris coming together, and that's a virtual safety car. But that's drama for the 2 Ferrari drivers. They started 1st and 3rd. They're now 18th and 19th.
They were working so well together last week. You know, you've got to think maybe Beast had a little bit too much speed coming through turn 3 and made contact with Shane, but the VSC might save a couple of their blushes. Beast there looks to have his front wing fully intact. I don't want to look at Shane. Doesn't have a front wing at all. Starting from a hard compounded tyre as well. He's going to find himself in a horrible situation for the remainder of this race. And Rapid Gopher as well seems to be unscathed, but again, it's one of those things which can happen around Zandvoort, isn't it? As we get back to racing, and now Craggies and Rapid OG find themselves 1 and 2, and Craggies just has to keep himself within the DRS before lap 4, and he'll be looking very, very swell for when that DRS opens to try and hold on to the back of Rapid OG. But so far, it's looking like it's going to be an interesting one all up and down the grid.
Yeah, and thankfully we're back to green flag racing pretty much immediately. That's not good for the 2 Ferraris, though. If they've got any damage, they are looking like they might have to double stack. But through the opening corner once again, we've got Mythbusters now up near the front, but Rapid OG, he has flown away. He has got that gap to Craggy's over a second already, and he is looking to pull even further. Crazy is right on the tail of the McLaren, and he's on that hard compound tyre. We've only got 2 of those drivers on the hard compound in the top 14 here, so keep an eye out for them. We see both them as, the Ferraris, I should say, into the pit lane. It's an absolutely horrific start for those drivers, and they have got a long, long road to recovery, but they can do quite a lot on the strategy for here, and if there's a safety car, they'll be right back in it.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what sort of strategy you'd want to go for, depending on, the scenario of finding themselves in. We've got Beast going from soft to medium, so he'll be looking to make another pit stop for that medium compounded tyre. And I do believe Shane's gone from the hard to the soft compound tyre, so he's going to be looking to dive it back onto a medium as well. But what both the Ferrari boys could really do with is a safety car and maybe a couple of laps time to try and close up this field just a little bit more to give them a great opportunity. Because you can see Shane, with the double stack, and on top of that, having to repair the front wing, he's only just making his way out of Sector 1, while Rapid OG is currently taking that Tarzan curve.
Yeah, it's quite a deficit, isn't it, for Shane, and it's not how he'd want to start his race. Here's Oliver Sequeira, of course. He didn't qualify in the best position, but he's moved up a couple of spaces. Kristima's fighting away with him. Patty Pat, kind of in a world of his own at this stage of the race, but he can try and close down Mythbusters with his soft compound tyre, particularly through that middle sector. We might see that gap come down and down inside line. Look at that. That's Poloski trying the lower line, and it might just about work out on just Komi-san as they run up through the long sweepers of 4 and 5. Alfredo's right in here to take advantage of these two come together, but just Komi-san holds off. But fights throughout the field, but we're already seeing a bit of a break-up in the trains.
Absolutely, we could expect to see maybe 1 or 2 more breaks as we see a massive slide there from Mythbusters, just showing he wasn't able to keep those mediums in the perfect temperature. We know tyre overheating can be a massive problem, especially heading through Sector 2 with the amount of lateral loads these cars get chucked through, you know, on every single lap. And it's not only just through Sector 2, Sector 1 can be very harsh on them as well, especially this final banked corner at turn 13. It won't do him any favours on that left-hand side, but you can see Mythbusters once again just making sure he's honing back in, and now he's got that DRS to play with. Patty Pat's world has just been made a little bit more difficult, but you saw there just on the back of the Alpine, he did get DRS, but it just didn't seem like it was enough to help him reel in Mythbusters too much more. He might have a very long evening ahead of him, but on the brighter side, he does have a bit of fresh air, he does have that cold wind blowing as well. Those soft tyres should theoretically be able to last 1 or 2 laps longer than they would do necessarily, you know, beforehand.
Yeah, it's something to think about, I think, particularly for the strategy cause. Maybe it might push them closer to a 1-stop, but I think if you're starting on the softs, you're kind of opening the door to a 2-stop. I mean, especially for the likes of Rapid OG, clearly gaining quite well off the front. It's lap 4, but you're thinking that he has got a pit window pretty much, albeit down to P18 and Vintage, but that gap is opening quickly to all the drivers behind, and if they keep fighting away, he'll be gaining a few seconds a lap. So by the time his pit window comes around, he'll be in a good place. Mythbusters, something's happened to him down at the stadium section. Here you can see him. Ooh, he is on steam. That may be some kind of issue in terms of his technical issue, but he may have... Oh no, he's just left the session. Yes, so something may have gone wrong there for the Haas driver. Not ideal for him, and it's allowed Patty Pat up into P5. Oliver Sequeira, though, he's back into the DRS of Patty Pat. So those two going along nicely, but lots of strategies at the front, aren't there?
Absolutely, we see him all differing, all bickering, all throughout the field, as CJQ also finds his way through around Tarzan on collateral zoom. Collateral zoom not really putting up too much of a fight there, doesn't necessarily want to fight too hard for this position. Something I am very pleased to see as well is a lot of these drivers seem to be taking it a little bit more cautiously with a battery and trying to prep themselves for that second stint of a race. We expected to see it yesterday, but I feel like drivers felt a little bit too pressured. The anticipation was on to make sure the racing was good, and they certainly delivered, burnt the battery, and it created some very desperate moments for drivers trying to hold on to positions throughout the rest of the grid. But you just saw there, Dean Arte has that red light flashing at the back. He's trying his absolute utmost to catch back up to the likes of Crazy I Do It and Craggies, but so far he's just falling back a little bit short. He'll take a couple laps to recharge a battery, which of course gives Paddy Pat the opportunity on that soft compound tyre to try and close up to the Red Bull.
And it's interesting to see Crazy doing very nicely here, maybe looking for the move down towards turn 1, thinks better of it. But he's doing a very good job. A little bit of contact between Oliver Sequeira and Patty Pat, who drives around the outside. Does he have enough traction on the exit? Yes, he does, just to hold on to P4. Oh, does he actually? No, they're going to be side by side through turn 2. But Patty Pat inside line through turn 3. You'd think he has this done. And yes, he does. Just about covers off the exit as well. So he holds on to P5, but just losing time to Denard at the moment. But Crazy I Do It, he is keeping close on that hard tie to Craggies. And he's not falling away from Rapid OG. So the race, which very might come back to him, in terms of the strategy, is looking good at the moment for him.
Yes, absolutely. We see Oliver, once again, doing the sort of strategy he was doing yesterday, just being a pest, being like a little fly, buzzing around in the mirror, just trying to force Paddy Pat into a mistake. But we know Paddy Pat, he's one of those, he can be made out of ice sometimes, and he's staying nice and cool at this moment in time with his brilliant defensive work in that Alpine car. But I feel like it's only going to be a matter of time before we start seeing those softs wear out even more, and Oliver is able to get that move sorted, whether it's going to be through turn 1, turn 3, no matter where it's going to happen. It almost feels inevitable around a circuit like this, doesn't it?
It does, and long DRS straight down towards turn 1 as well. Look at Crazy, easily passed. I think that's something that has come into the game, particularly with this new DRS zone, as Oliver Sequeira trying it again around the outside. Paddy Pat late on the brakes, but Oliver still trying around the outside. Bit of a moment on the exit for the Alpine driver, and Oliver is through. Can he drive away from the Alpine on the soft tyres? We'll have to wait and see over the next lap or so. But I was going to say, overtaking has become much easier around this track since they've extended that DRS zone as you'd expect, and some of the moves are done well before the corner, and you see much less jockeying for position side by side in turn 1. So if you're close enough, it really is a bit of an Imola situation where it's not really a contest into turn 1.
Yep, certainly. It seems to have kind of gone that way, doesn't it? It's less of, an overtaking tool and more of a push-to-pass system for DRS, especially around some of these tracks which have had changes to try and accommodate for a bit more DRS usage, especially the likes of Albert Park as well. But something I do want to point out, Crazy I Do It has pulled a 1.2 second gap to Craggy's on this lap alone. Those hard tyres really do have some serious pace around here, Darragh.
And he's shortened that gap, or he's closed that gap, I should say, to Rapid OG by a full second as well. So he is looking pretty quick in that Williams car. Didn't really have the pace in qualifying, but that's not everything. You've got to have the race pace. That is, of course, exactly what you need to be focusing on, even when you're practicing. Some drivers, if they just pound out the time trial laps before the race, even if they do 15, 20, they might find themselves a little bit further back in the race. Don Moore on the inside of CJQ into the opening corner, and then McLaren tries to fight it around the outside, but I think he might have to come out a little bit short here, and does, but that is not the line, and Don Moore into the wall, out of this race, and no surprise, that's a safety car. That's a massive incident.
That is absolute. I'm bewildered on how that one's happened. Did he lock the tyres heading into turn 3?
I don't know. I think it's possible that because he was on the inside, he kind of misjudged the line. Took a little bit too much speed in and went straight in. But I have to say, actually, that's one of the first times I've ever seen the barrier fully crumple on a collision like that. We'll have to see it if anybody else comes through. But the barrier did very much move. And I haven't seen that before. Beast onto a hard tyre. Of course, the safety car wasn't or wasn't caught by the leader. Or the safety car didn't catch the leader, I should say. So we're going to go around again. Shane, he's not really lost any time by not coming into the pit lane, just waiting for some fresher tyres, either next lap or the lap afterwards. But we're going to see Rapid OG in, surprise, surprise. I think everyone expected that, but we're also seeing Crazy in maybe a medium from here. But it does open the door up for different ideas here, doesn't it?
Yeah, certainly. All it takes is one bold driver to do something a little bit different. We saw it yesterday, and this time it'll be Crew Steamers going that different route on that hard compound tyre. We know it can eke out a couple more laps. We know it's got the pace. We've already seen it. It's just how long is he going to be able to hold on to this race lead? We've seen some absolute phenomenal restarts yesterday, didn't we? One of which, right by the start-finish line, waited to the very last possible moment before going, and we've seen others coming straight off the back of heading into turn 12. Phenomenal. But 5-second time penalty will not help Komi-san's case here in the slightest. Unfortunate it's picking up for speed in the pit lane, but again, it is just one of those features. You've kind of just got to behave to it.
I think we're going to see quite a lot of action going on here with Crew Steamers out in front. I think everyone else will be quite keen to get through, I'm sure. Crazy as well. Fresh medium. Same with Cranky, same with the Nart. Top two may be slightly vulnerable. I mean, even look back to the likes of Mythbusters. Shane's come in as well. We'll see what he goes on to. It's a hard tyre. It's the tyre we started on. But we might see a few drivers here really try and force the issue. Mythbusters trying to recover, of course, after that disconnect a few laps ago. He will be surely trying to fly his way up the order. But lots of storylines, I think, that are going to unfold after this safety car restart.
Absolutely. You know, you're looking the two Ferrari boys towards the back, both of them now on that hard compound tyre, easily able to make it to the end of a race. But how their tyres going to fare in comparison to those mediums? Mediums you would expect them maybe to try and find another pit stop. I don't think it's possible to try and extend him all the way to the end, but then again, I have been caught out. I have been surprised here and there. Certainly very, very interesting. And also, I do just want to report in the general chat in the minute for this tier, CJQ has hopped into the room, owning up to the mistake, saying, Don Moore, that was my fault. And, you know, giving an apology to Don Moore for whatever happened there. And you've got to consider, from such a young man, being able to own up to a mistake, you know, it's phenomenal.
It is, but I'm going to be honest, he might have seen something different to what we did, because it did just seem, from our angle, that Don Moore had just kind of overcooked it. There didn't seem to be any contact in the corner. He may just be saying sorry because he thinks it was his fault. Maybe it was, like I said, a little bit of a difference in what he saw to what we saw, but it did look like Don Moore did overcook it a little bit. But either way, very, very respectful to own up, even if he didn't do anything wrong, just to say I'm sorry. And it just shows a very good value, I think, in CJQ, which is always nice to see. Shane looks like he'll be able to catch the back of the safety car queue before the end of this lap, and I think, end lap 10, we're going to be going back to green flag racing.
Absolutely, but you got to think, those medium tyres from P3 to P5, they do look very tasty. I think if I was one of these drivers, I'd want to be in that position. I want to be on those mediums instead of the hards. We've seen the hards fire up very, very quickly, but it's going to be more of a question of how well will they last come the end of a race, when we will have drivers on fresher tyres looking to hunt them down. It'll be a matter of time until we find that one, but right now, all eyes are on Crew Steamers, and where he's going to be able to pick up this race once again.
And he will try and dictate the pace as they come to the final couple of corners. Can't get this race back underway just yet, having to wait until the safety car is fully in the pit lane. Rapid OG, though, very keen to make his way through when this race does get back underway. But let's see. It will start lap 11. 26 laps of this race to go. And Crew Steamers has released the field. There's some gaps in the mid-pack, actually. Some drivers very much caught napping. But Rapid OG is hoping to make his way through into turn 1. Maybe looking to the inside line. Not going to do anything there. Patty Pat makes the move past Dinar into P5 as the Red Bull slips down the order. But look at Crazy. He is keen to get through. But he's got to make sure there's no mistake.
Absolutely. You can see there different drivers using different lines. You saw the run Rapid OG was able to get there, coming out of turn 3, literally pushing Crew Steamers through this S section. But again, it's so close heading up through here, isn't it? We saw contact there yesterday. But so far, Rapid OG has done a fantastic job, but it just seemed like he got cut off there from the corner. Had a little half step, but that'll drop him down into P5, maybe even P6 if Dinarte is able to get that move sorted. He's got a little bit more work to do now, as we've got more contact through the field. It's CJQ and Kobe-san.
Yeah, they've tumbled down the order, but awful moment there for Rapid OG. It's lucky that he just kept it out of the wall and just about made sure that I don't think he's had any damage, but it's allowed Crazy a very good go at taking the lead of this race. Craggies isn't going to let him take it easily, though, or let him take it and let Crew Steamers block him and lose him some time. But let's see, through the banking of the final corner, lap 11 ends, lap 12 will begin, and we'll see if Crazy in the Williams car, using that ERS, I'm sure, can make the move towards turn 1. He's going to take the inside line. It looks like he's got it well before the corner, and he does. It's going to be a case of Craggies to the inside, and he will make the move as well. Patty Pat, he will not want to lose too much time either, but I think he's just going to have to sit and wait for now. Crazy and Craggy might be able to get away a little bit here, but around the outside, Patty Pat, has he got the traction? I think he does, and I think he's got P3. He does. What a move.
Brilliant stuff, and he's not alone there. Dinarte is also looking to try and follow through this section, doing what Rapid OG wasn't able to do, and just securing that move before heading into that fast-flowing right-hander at turn 6. Brilliant stuff there from Patty Pat and Dinarte, risking it just a little bit more through the likes of turn 4, 5. Brilliant stuff from them to get that move done nice and early on, as we see Crew Steamers move out the way for Rapid OG, almost showing an apologetic politeness move to just make sure he's out the way of Rapid OG, knowing he caused a bit of contact. Doesn't want it to end up going up towards the stewards, but I feel like it might be a little too late for that one, because Rapid OG has lost a bucket load of time here in the hunt to try and get down to this win, because now all of a sudden he's not only racing against those medium tyres which are now in front of him, he's also got Patty Pat on the exact same strategy, just slightly ahead as well. And now it is directly ahead as Dinarte uses the DRS, uses a little bit of battery to try and get that move sorted, but Patty Pat once again taking a defensive line into turn 1. He's showing what he's got so far, isn't he, Patty Pat? He's more than happy to go defensive through a lot of these corners, and so far it's been working a treat for him.
It has, and I think Rapid will, have a little bit of solace in the fact that he is still in this top train. He hasn't fallen away too far. I say top train. Patty Pad, of course, has lost that window, but look at that rear light flashing to Nart. We've only been going, is it a lap and a half?
Yeah.
At the end of that safety car. So already he's really just used all of that battery. He's going to be in a bit of a dangerous situation if Rapid OG has any more battery in the tank, as he goes a little bit wide through turn 9 as well. Problem for Alberto Maracucho spinning around there down at turn 8. But Denart, he's going to come under pressure. Patty Pat as well, because with DRS enabled, Crazy and Craggies, they look away. Patty Pat, he's in danger.
Absolutely. You got to think as well, we saw how powerful that double slipstream was yesterday for the right until the very end with that double overtake. Potentially could see a very similar thing here if both of them are going to fall in line here for Rapid OG, but Rapid OG decides to stick it out, keeping his nose clean, getting cool air towards to the engine, trying to cool it down just enough to be able to keep that power flowing through the car. But Patty Pat, once again, with another solid defense. Donati went for the up and under. Now he's going to be trying to hang it around the outside here at turn 3, but he just doesn't seem to necessarily get the traction, does he?
No, he doesn't. It looks like he's struggling just a touch as they make their way now through the sweepers. 4 and 5. Up in towards 6. And, ooh, I thought for a second Donati was going to try and put it up the inside, but red lights flashing on both of the drivers. Hello, Oliver Sequeira. He's joined this battle, and he is right on the back of Rapid OG. It's getting a little bit tense here through this mid-pack. You'd think that the medium runners have to pit again. So Patty Pat may be trying to think about if he can stay in front of those hard runners, he might have a chance as Poloski and Krustimas fight away. But this battle for P3, this is where it's at the moment. Yeah,
he just clipped that curb on the left-hand side to try and aid you, direct you in towards the corner. He clipped it and went airborne there. I'm not sure if you caught that. Front wing jumped up off the floor, lost him a little bit of time there to Patty Pat, but now he's going to be in that perfect range of about 4 or 5 attempts to be able to pick up the slipstream, use the DRS, and able to build himself up a little bit more overspeed. But again, he's just in that awkward situation now where if he does go for a late move, he's going to be very vulnerable to the likes of Rapid OG, Oliver Sequeira. And you've got to think, the more Patty Pat defends this, the less likely they're going to want to overtake, because they'll just lose more positions by going off the racing line and picking up marbles.
Yeah, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because you really want to make the move, but at the same time, you really don't want to put the marbles on the tyres, because it can, handcuff you through the rest of the lap and allow a chance for the drivers behind to maybe have a pop. Oh, while this is going on, yeah, look at Shane, up into P10 now. He has made some fantastic progress after the safety car restart, of course, was right at the back of the field. It shows you why you don't retire in the pit lane, because there's always those chances for a safety car. There's always the possibility of getting back into the race, and he's back into the top 10, into the point-scoring positions. And you'd think that is absolutely not his cap. You'd think that he might be able to rise even further up the order and try and get himself into that battle for P3 soon.
Absolutely, but again, it'll all just be whether it's able to fall in his lap. We see Beastfire looking to try and make a couple moves again, but great defense there from Krustimas, not letting him pass, still out on that old compound tyre. But we still have this battle raging on for the last place on the podium. Patty Pat here, just pulling over to that right-hand side, trying to break the toe, but you can see the rest of the drivers certainly don't want to break any form of toe. They're more than happy to pick up a bit of slipstream to be able to carry their speed along just a little bit, just to try and help them recharge the battery and not having to worry about burning any of that ERS to try and defend from the drivers behind. But we do have some Titanic battles happening all over the shop at the minute, don't we?
Ooh, Rapid OG, he's going to look to try and get a better exit through turn 3. It's not going to work out for him, and actually Denart has got the good exit on Patty Pat as they rise up the hill through 4 and 5. Of course, they are sweepers. It's so difficult. You could call it a straight, but it's really not. It's just a flat-out flowing set of corners. Oh, so close to contact. I have to say, I did a race earlier myself, and there were a few times where I got so close to the car in front that I didn't quite know how I hit him, and I think that's going to be a moment there for Rapid OG, nearly pushing him through a corner. I think Denart maybe did push Paddy back through the corner at turn 9, but they're 4 seconds back now from the top 2. Denart trying it audaciously at turn 10. He's going to make this one stick, I think. Oh, as Patty's disconnected. There's not the best of connection for a couple of the Steam guys here. That's not going to work out well for him. And all of a sudden, Rapid OG, he's got the DRS for P3 himself.
Absolutely. But again, it's just one of those beautiful features we love to see. I do believe we've had almost every Steam user... No, we have had every single Steam user from the lobby disconnect, myself included. But Dinarte and Oliver looking to try and maybe trade positions, but it's certainly not a team orchestrated one. We saw that from last week around Portimao. But Oliver decided to back off there, letting the teammate through on that soft compound tyre. Just trying to maybe use him for a little bit of DRS as well. Certainly not going to be the end of the world, but we do have more drivers battling. And we have noticed Craggies and I Do It are really trying to push each other through that middle sector, as we're about to have a look right now. You can see Craggy slowly starts to pull out, but Crazy I Do It seems to just be able to find that sweet point heading through turn 9 into heading down into the IDSs, where he's able to pick up that little bit more speed before even opening the DRS, maybe potentially deploying a bit of battery as well, just to make sure he's able to close back up and be within that striking range, heading down into turn 1 once again. He's managing this race beautifully in that Williams car at the minute.
And it's what you need, especially for a driver. Maybe not in the championship battle just yet, but when you pick up points like this, we have a safety car. That is CJQ. CJQ has crashed, and that could open the door. We're going to see some pit stops. Of course, the safety car will catch anybody that goes through. Yeah, you'd think for these two hard tyres, but I mean, Rapid OG, Oliver Sequeira, they won't have another set of hard tyres. What do? Do they go mediums to the end?
No.
Oh, that is... I don't know if that's allowed, you see, because Rapid OG has very clearly gone all 4 wheels into the pit lane and then out again. I'll try and find a rule book during the safety car just to have a peek.
You know what they say, Darragh? Snitches get stitches.
Well, I'm not saying. Well, it was on stream. If anybody watches this back, if any of the admins or skewers watch this back, and they might be, oh, we've seen that. I just want to know for myself whether that is actually some kind of rule. Right. I'll look at it now. But yeah, this is going to be interesting, I think, for this safety car restart, because lots of different strategies are afoot.
Certainly will be. We've got drivers who have decided to put it onto a fresh set of medium tyres. Crazy I Do It, Shane, Oliver Sequeira, Cruz Teamers, Alberto and Just Komi-san all on a fresh set of mediums. Looking to make it 18 laps on a medium tyre. It is doable. It won't feel very good at the end, but it is doable. But you compare that to, what, 27 lap old hards? I still feel like the hards would be quicker at the end of this race. Not by much, but by enough for it to be worth trying the hard tyres. It'll be interesting to see if they do dive it back into the pits to try and change it up, go back onto a set of hards. But at this point, they're going to lose so many positions because everyone's been bunched up behind the safety car.
Yeah, they're all just going to be sitting in that train, aren't they? But you're right about the tyre age. Back at that. And yeah, Craggy's on that fresh hard. He's got that car between himself and Crazy now. Crazy on the fresh medium. Opening laps. I mean, that medium tyre is going to be so much quicker than the tyres on the top guys at this stage. Shane on a fresh set of mediums as well, and he's only lost 2 positions. So don't count him out for some kind of podium in this race, especially if we get another safety car, because he will gain quite a few positions, you'd have thought, on this restart. But we've still got some fast drivers on the old tyre, the likes of Rapid OG, the likes of Beast, who, again, he was right at the back at the end of lap 1. He's up into P4 again.
I just don't know how we do it. I really don't know. You know, sometimes we'll sit there and we'll watch a driver make way through the field, similar to what we saw Beast do here today, gets himself into P10, and then all of a sudden a safety car comes out. Some drivers decide to dive it in for, you know, a fresh set of tyres. Fair enough. Beast finds himself in P4 with tyres able to go to the end. We know what his defending's like. Absolutely stellar. We saw it around Portimao. We know what Patty Pat's is like. It's been stellar so far here today. Rapid OG showed he's got the pace once he's got a bit of clean air. He won't be put under too much pressure if Patty Pat does go, you know, heavily defensive on the likes of Monster, on Beast, maybe on Crazy I Do It, Craggies, etc. There's a lot of different variables which could really unfold how the second half of this race is going to go, and you know, I would ask for a prediction at this point, because majority of these drivers can run the tyres to the end of a race. But I don't feel comfortable asking one, because I wouldn't be able to give my own answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. I think the other thing is that we don't know if there's going to be another safety car, and that can really mix it up here. But we'll have to keep an eye. All while that safety car, I was looking through the rulebook, and I couldn't find anything about the pit. Keep looking. Lap 19, with over halfway through the race. 17 laps to go. These hard tyres, they are going to be very, very warm by the end of this race. And they're already going to have quite a pace deficit to the guys in the mediums. But there we go. Rapid OG gets us back underway. But Patty Pat has had a fantastic restart right on the tail of the Alfa Romeo driver. And he's going to go for the move for the lead to the inside at turn 1. Can he make this one work? A little bit of contact means that Rapid OG goes a little bit wider. But it's Patty Pat into the lead. He's on the old hard tyres. But the guys on the fresher mediums and hards, we're going to have to wait for them to try and come through. We're looking at Shane here, not close to the drivers behind, but Rapid Gopher, and this is Oliver Seguera fighting through turn 3. It's so tight, but Paddy Pat, he's taken the lead, and that's exactly what he needed to do.
Absolutely, Rapid OG will be absolutely fuming with himself for that restart. It wasn't the greatest. He didn't catch Paddy Pat out at all. Paddy Pat knew exactly how to time it, knew when Rapid OG was going to go. Timed it to perfection. Brilliant stuff there, but we are seeing some more overtakes, and I do believe Clarel Zoom might have ran it just a little bit wide. You can see him trying to rejoin back towards the rear of the pack now. But Craggies has been able to make it for on Vintage. He's going to be looking to get his head down, close back up to Beast, try and make a move. But again, it's going to be such a challenging task, trying to get past drivers with the sort of driving technique with the likes of Beast, Patty Pat, you know, especially even Rapid OG as well. They know they're all going to the end. They're going to be looking for their absolute utmost best as we see more incidents following itself through the grid. Oliver Square and Alberto here, once again, getting caught up, losing a little bit of time. Fortunately, no VSC, because we are going to get some more racing up towards the front here. Patty Pat being cast to the outside by Rapid OG. But Patty Pat, once again, just dancing it around the outside. I think he took what I said about him personally at the start of his stream. He might very well be one of those drivers to turn around and say, I'm not good at a track, and then absolutely smash it, because this defensive performance has been remarkable.
It has so far, and we'll have to see how long it can continue. But look at these guys now. There is a yellow flag further back. It's Rapid Gopher who's gone for a spin at turn 3. But we look through as Craggy's up in P4 now. He needs these positions as fast as he can possibly help it. You'd think that all of these guys around him, Beast, Monster, Rapid and Patty Pat, they're going to the end on their hard tyres. But he's just got 9-10 lap fresher hard tyres that he'll hold all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. Look at his traction all the way through turn 9. He should have this one done on Monster. Let's see if Monster fights it down into the stadium section. No. And Craggy's still climbing up the order, and he's looking for P2 very, very quickly as well. So he's in a very good position in this race, but also Shane up into P7. I mean, really got to keep an eye on him in this race, because on that medium tyre, he could fly up the order.
Absolutely, he's getting those moves done, but you just saw there, Craggy's taking a little bit too much of that exit curve. That's going to give a brilliant opportunity for Monster to try and make a move. He's pulled over to the inside, maybe a little bit too soon, but we've got some Titanic battling once again up at front. Patty Pat, Rapid OG, leaving no space on the track for one another. They're more than happy to absolutely send it, aren't they? Patty Pat here is going to be taking a higher line around turn 3, looking to try and get that better exit, but again, it'll just be one of those things where if he's not careful, he'll end up losing it. But that's Monster in the background, spinning it round. And I believe Beast ended up getting caught up in that one as well.
And we have another safety car.
Wow.
And that is going to allow the likes of Rapid, Patty, and Rapid and Patty, really, to pit, along with Vintage and Poloski. But look where Shane is. He's up into P5, and he's on that medium compound tyre. He could pit if he wants to. But equally, I mean...
No, surely not. Just
no,
nurture.
Exactly.
Nurture him.
He could pit, but he doesn't need to. And if he doesn't pit, he could very well be P3 here.
I think he just nurtures these tyres, no? Surely, it would be a very difficult task to be able to get him to the end of a race from once he put them on. But who knows how long this safety car is going to be out for. If a couple drivers pit, it might take him a little bit longer to get back up. We could get 2 safety car laps here for, for Shane to sort of just look after those tyres. Give him some warm milk, get him in a blanket, tuck him up, sing him a lullaby, just to make sure they're going to peacefully go to sleep, and he won't have to worry about him too much. As he does go with a little bit of a dummy there into the pit lane, but we are seeing many different drivers pit here. Very interesting. Komi-Sanin, Dinarte. Interesting. I didn't expect Dinarte to dive into the pits for.
I mean, interesting. I mean, some of these drivers, they might know what they're doing here. But yeah, you can see some soft tyres going. We did see yesterday that they didn't really work at the end of the race, did they?
But at the start, at that restart, Darragh, you've got to remember, it was like it was a Formula 0 car. It was like seeing that Red Bull X 2010. They were disgustingly quick.
They were, but again, towards the end of the race, and this safety car is a couple of laps earlier than yesterday's, we did see those soft tyres really drop off. So that is something to think about. But I mean, we suddenly have Craggy's, Crazy, and Shane, 1, 2, and 3. Crew Steamers is up into P4. A few drivers who really weren't... We weren't talking about for the first half of this race. All of a sudden, they were in possible podium positions. But yeah, those soft runners, I mean, there is a clump of them, isn't there? So it's going to be difficult for the likes of Poloski, just coming standard not to make a move past Vintage. But I think if Vintage makes the move, they all might follow quite quickly.
And the driver I feel the most sorry for here, not only just getting caught up in that incident, which happened out at turn 3, but Beast here finds himself in such a difficult position. Does he try and risk going for an overtake on one of the soft compound runners, or does he trust him to navigate themselves through the field? Because if he does try and get a move on Dinarte, he's going to be losing time to the likes of just Komi-san if he does make the move. If not, Dinarte just going to slowly start pulling away. They'll put pressure on the medium runners in front of them, and if Beast isn't right behind them to get that overtaking opportunity at the same time, you know, he's kind of stuck in that middle of no man's, isn't he? He would have to deploy a bit of battery, which won't help him come the end of this race.
No, it won't. Not at all. And I can report back now that I can very happily say I have seen nothing in that rulebook that says you cannot cut the white line entry. So I will stop harping on about it now and move on. I just have my own stewarding brain on because I know quite a few leagues that I'm a part of, you cannot cut that white line for love nor money. But again, some of the leagues, for example, here at PRL,
you know,
yeah,
like a couple of leagues I do other commentary work in, they use the term "as long as it's safe," you're allowed to do it.
That's vague, though.
It is very vague.
That opens some problems.
It opens even more problems when we get to Austria and we got drivers lawn mowing on the final corner.
Yeah.
Don't get me started about Bathurst either. That's a whole different ball game.
Where, sorry?
Bathurst.
Oh yeah, goodness me.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even here, we see quite a lot of drivers go over that white line on entry just when they're driving around trying to defend or attack, just because of where it sticks out. But I think sometimes, especially when you're under safety car, there's that different argument about it. You're looking very much like you're going to go into the pit lane, and then all of a sudden you don't dive in. But either way, enough of that. We're 2/3 of the way through this race. We've got the end of the safety car, 12 laps, hopefully, of green flag racing to come. And it really is open to anybody. There is one driver on the hard compound of tyre, and that driver is the driver who is going to set the pace for this restart. It's Craggy's, Crazy and Shane, and Crew, and Alfredo, Alberto, and Oliver. They're on some slightly older medium tyres, and then everyone behind is on some fresh tyres. Some of them are on softs. This is going to be interesting. Craggy's gets us underway. 12 to go here in Zandvoort. Crazy, it's not the best of restarts. Neither is Shane. No one is really too close, like we saw last time, to make a move down towards turn 1. I say that. Rapido G and Oliver Sequeira is the battle we're going to look at down towards the opening corner. He's got to be careful. Nearly wiped out Alberto Maracucho there, but he's got his way through, and that's Patty Pat. That's an unforced error. He's spun into the wall, and he's not retired, but he's right at the back of this race, and he's out of contention, you'd say.
Oh, absolutely. He would need another safety car to try and get back into this one. Of course, there is a limit of 3 safety cars on 50% races, so there is still a chance for a safety car to come out and say Patty Pat's race here. But again, I feel like there might have been a little bit of contact on the rear of Oliver's car. Again, some of the stewards will have to have a look at. It is very much unfortunate, but we still have a titanic battle for the lead of this race, and Alfredo seems to be doing that perfect rear gunner job that we like to see from these teammates, working together, using a little bit of DRS from his teammate in front of them, but also just trying to hold up the drivers behind whenever possible to try and give Crew Steelers that little bit of breathing room he needs the most. I mean, surely it's got to be the way you're going to look forward as a team here. Not just as an individual, but for Aston Martin, this would be huge.
Yeah, he's going to try and make sure that he stays in that DRS window for when it is enabled at the start of lap 27 as we get on to 26. But look at Crazy here, looking for an outside line. You can just see at the front of your shot, he's not going to make the move. Here comes Rapid OG on Alberto Maracucho. Ooh, there may have been a little bit of contact there, but the Williams stays in front, and Mythbusters is looking rather keen to get through as well, but he's not going to be able to find a way up the inside at turn 2. You'd be a very brave man to do that. But something else to note... I think because we had 2 virtual safety cars, didn't we, at the start of the race?
Yes.
In the opening few laps. And I think we've had 3 full since. I think we've hit the max of 5.
Oh, dear. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Steam's having a problem. We've got Mythbusters DC in there, and that's not going to help him in his chance here to try and climb up a couple more positions. Hopefully he's able to reconnect as soon as possible. As we see the Williams there of Alberto giving our best Valtteri Bottas impression, but we've still got brilliant battles happening all throughout the field here. And I do believe that is just Kobe-san looking to try and make a move. Oh, would you say he cut the corner there?
Looked like he may have taken a little bit off of it,
just
didn't it? But
a little nibble of the curb.
Denard might have something to say about that for sure. But as they run their way through, we'll keep an eye on this battle. DRS enabled then as we run down towards turn 1. Very aggressive fighting between Polowski and Rapid OG. The man on the soft tyre just dipping a wheel into the grass. That's not going to help his grip into turn 1. You can see it very much with your own eyes. Losing quite a bit of ground in the opening corner. Rapid OG flies through and will keep his P6 for the time being. But at the top 3, as DRS is enabled, there's not much in it. We might see some moves in the closing stages.
Absolutely. You're going to have to think as well. We saw a couple tactics being played yesterday with drivers trying to just away it back, trying to find an opportunity, hoping to go 3 wide at turn 1, making sure that if anyone was going to benefit out of it, it would have been them. Brilliant stuff we saw yesterday. Could we be seeing something very similar today? We know the racecraft of these drivers is just as strong as those in Tier 1. I feel like we could be in for a day of fireworks here, to say the very least.
3/4 of the way's gone, really, now, isn't it? 9 to go when we come back across the line. But sorry, not Monster Mythbusters. Sadly for him, not yet back in his Haas machine. But there's the DRS flap wide open on the Williams car of Crazy. He will fly through down towards turn 1. Not a contest. It's like watching an F1 car against an F2 car down there. And here comes Shane, actually, on his championship rival. He's taken the inside line. Can he keep it all the way down the inside to take P2 off Craggy's? Yes, he can. So, Craggy's first to third down that straight. He's got some work to do, but it just shows how easy that DRS can be for the drivers behind.
Absolutely. As long as the driver trying to defend doesn't deploy too much battery, you can breeze past them. Come back over to the racing line and brake just as you would normally, as if he was leading a race coming out of turn 13 regardless. But we saw it yesterday, drivers willing to work with one another, just trying to break a little bit of a gap away from the field. Potentially could be something we could see from Crazy, Shane and Craggy's. Certainly would think so between Crazy and Shane, but Craggy's being on that hard compound tyre, I don't feel like drivers would want to be sitting behind that waiting to try and work together, because you can see here, the softing compared to the mediums, you know, the delta is huge. The delta between the mediums and hards, it's not as big as we've seen the soft mediums, but it is still relatively large as well. So, certainly going to be interesting to kind of figure out how they're going to want to run this race, because you can see that 7/10 gap up towards the front here, as we will be riding on board here. Rapid OG, you can see he cuts it back nicely, make sure he gets that inside line, opens up the DRS, and you can see just flying past. No worries in the world.
Yeah, Crew Steam is trying to defend from Polowski as well. Those soft tyres, they're losing a bit of their bite. They're losing their edge at the moment. And you're going to have to make the most of them while you can. Just in behind, just Komi-san looked like he nearly made a move on Denard. But the inside line, poor run through turn 3 for Crew Steamers. And Polowski will say, thank you very much, sir. And I will take your P5 off of you and chase after Rapid OG myself. We are starting to see the front 3 pull away, though. And we might start to make that really develop into the podium battle with Crazy and Shane. You'd say probably fighting out for the win, because Craggy's losing a bit of ground. But with every lap that passes, we are starting to see that hard tyre a little bit improve a little bit compared to that medium, I think it's fair to say.
Yes, absolutely. It's just one of those slow burners, isn't it? Until we get to those very few final laps where we're going to start seeing a lot more battery being deployed. Absolutely chucking it. Hopefully, for their sake, they're going to be able to kind of, you know, kick those hard tyres back into a little bit of life a little bit quicker than the mediums. But it, again, all depends when that drop off a cliff is going to hit for the hard tyres, because if it ends up hitting around lap 34, lap 35, Craggy's is going to be a whole world of trouble.
Yeah, but he's got to be careful to stay in this DRS as well, because he's starting to slip away. That gap 8/10 now, and Rapid OG is closing fast. Denard and Just Komi-san fighting it out for P6 and P7 as they run through turn 1, and Just Komi-san, the AlphaTauri driver, he didn't have the best of runs in the opening part of this race. He started right near the back of the field. But now, up into P6, he's looking to pick up some nice points in this race. RRL Beast as well. He's had one of the most up and down races I think I've ever seen. He was near the front, then he was last, then he was in the mid-pack, then he was last, back near the front again, in the mid-pack, and now he's still fighting over some minor points-paying positions. But he's still going, and it's what we love to see. But at the front, it's Shane, who has pulled that 1 second gap to Craggy's, and Rapid, he's right in that DRS window now.
Yeah, Rapid is certainly going to be looking to try and eyeball up and overtake, and to think as well, he's got 5 lap fresher tyres on these 2 cars in front. I feel like if he's able to make that move on Craggy's, heading down into turn 1, he could very well be on for a chance here to go and run it all the way until the very end, as we see Collateral Zoom there having an incident, so to say, heading down towards LDS. I believe he might have just spun it coming out of Vodafone, but we're going to see the move for the lead here. Crazy and Shane swapping positions. See Crazy there not willing to move off the racing line, just letting the car fly past. But again, Craggy's holding onto that position to Rapid. You've got to start thinking Rapid's going to have to make this move sooner rather than later, because if he stays behind for too much longer, Craggy's might get that DRS back. I mean, it's going to be a whole different ball game to try and get that move sorted.
Yeah, wants it done relatively soon here, but Rapid OG is getting caught up behind. You can see it just dancing around in the wing mirrors. Oh, nearly
so
hit the
close.
McLaren as well, yeah. He's just trying to find a line, but he can't quite find it. Those medium tyres definitely clicking on the hards at this stage. He's got the quickest tyres of anybody, probably in the top 7, you'd say, at the moment, as those soft tyres really now start to drop away. But as they run their way now through turn 9, he's not going to make it, I don't think, down in towards the stadium section at turn 10. But with that DRS detection point just on the exit, he might be looking to make the move down towards turn 1. He can see the top 2 as well. This is all to play for. 5 to go.
Absolutely. You can see him slowly start to creep away. The longer he waits behind Craggy's, the more that gap's going to build. So it's imperative he gets this overtake done as soon as possible. DRS wide open, heading through the banked curve. And you can see he's going to get such a good run. He tries to opt for the upper line. He's able to get that run. And absolutely beautiful. He won't even have to get marbles on his tyres to get that overtake sorted. Didn't have to go off the racing line once, being able to steam his way through up into P3. 1 second now to close up back to Crazy I Do It, but you can already see how much more grip his tyres has in comparison to the 2 front runners. This battle is just starting, I think, on lap 32 of 36. 4 laps to go. Rapid OG eyeballing a potential race win here.
We have had 31 laps of this race, but it does feel like we've got a 5-lapper to decide it, because we've got 4.5 to go now. But really, Shane, Crazy, Rapid OG, don't count any of them out, because Rapid OG, if he can just eke another few hundredths into that gap in front, which he does, he eats a 10th through turn 8 alone.
Oh.
He's in that DRS window, and he will have it down towards turn 10, and you'd have thought down towards turn 1 as well. The only problem for him is that Crazy has it on the back of Shane. So yesterday, we saw a move that saw a driver go from P3, it was that sim racer, go from P3 to P1, and he ended up winning, or it may be Basil. But the point is, we saw a P3 to P1. That could happen again in the closing stages here at Zandvoort. History very much able to repeat itself. Red light flashing at the back of the top 2 as well, as that's Crazy going to the inside of Shane. He's going to take the race lead. Ooh, they're both going to be vulnerable, because Rapid has more ERS than the 2 of them.
Absolutely, but it's not by much as well. We saw Rapid's ERS light flashing when he was trying to get that move sorted on Craggy's. None of these drivers really have too much ERS left to spend, but we can see here Kobe-san, Dinarte, and RRL Beast all having a beautiful battle. Dinarte there went Ghost. I don't believe he's disconnected, though. I hope not. No,
Maybe a
no.
little bit of contact between the 2 of them, and the cars can just go through some of the corners. But Alberto has snatched that fastest lap. He's outside the top 10, so it won't count for a point. But it's always nice to have that fastest lap to your name, if it's just a little purple number on the race results. Swinging their way now through turn 9, just going down, taking a tighter line than RRL Beast, but you can definitely see those soft sides are now coming under pressure from the same age medium tyres. But at the front, coming through the stadium section now, oh, that's not the best of lines for Shane, and he's nearly lost the DRS. He's lost a big chunk of time to Crazy at the front. He's luckily kept inside that DRS. He'll be able to catch back up down towards turn 1, but Rapid OG nearly came through it into the final corner.
Absolutely, you're going to have to think here. Rapid's going to get such a better run, being closer, getting more prominent slipstream. Later on the brakes on those fresher tyres as well. Is he going to be able to hang around the outside? Surely not. No, he's just had to back off there a little bit, but he's got to be careful. He doesn't try and put Shane under too much pressure. The last thing he wants is Shane to go defensive, lose touch of a DRS, and then you could be looking at Crazy I Do It pulling away with this race lead, as we see Collateral Zoom once again having an incident down at the Vodafone corner, turn 9. It's so common to make a mistake there, isn't it? It's just one of those corners which, you know, it seems like it lasts forever. You want to get up a throttle earlier and earlier each lap, but realistically you should be getting on it later and later each lap, with the tyre wear creeping in being a huge factor. Lap 34 here, and the win is still completely up in the air between these three. I mean, if we have another free wide moment down into turn 1, and a little bit of contact comes, it comes knocking, potentially could even see Craggy's pick up a win.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. 2 laps to decide it all. Patty Pad, of course, one-time race leader out of this race now. Of course, he made that mistake, or there was that error at the start of the last safety car restart, and he hasn't been able to be anywhere closer since, and no safety cars coming out hasn't helped that cause either. All of the red lights flashing at the back of the top 4 even. You could just see... Actually, no, the... yeah, who was that Red Bull? It was Darragh, actually, for the top 6. Yeah, so not much ERS going around at all. Collateral Zoom picking up the first 3 seconds of the race on lap 35, which is quite impressive that no one has gone off the track more than 3 times in this long race. But we are seeing Shane ever closer. We're going to have one more run towards turn 1, and you'd say that Shane's in a prime position to pick up the race, lead with the DRS, but we're going to have to wait and see for that main straight.
Yeah, you can see how much more these top 3 are lifting and coasting, doing everything in their power to be able to just try and eke a little bit more of a break, drag out some of these corners, recharging that battery by maybe 1 or 2% extra, doing everything in their power to try and find a little bit of energy. But again, Shane struggling on those rears to get the power down. Rapid OG here might be able to have a look to the inside, heading into the Audi. Yes, but he decides just to keep it backwards just a little bit more. But you've got to think, Crazy I Do It is now going to be trying to dump the battery as much as possible, because he knows the best overtaking opportunity is going to be down into Tarzan. Shane will know that too, and I'm sure Rapid OG knows that as well, so we could be looking at a battery dump right here, which would make him slightly vulnerable heading up into turn 6, but we're going to be waiting and seeing how these drivers are going to take it. It looks like Shane's going to the outside. Rapid OG wasn't quite close enough, but he's once again put it to the inside. A little bit of contact, but Rapid OG's able to make the move. I'm sure Shane won't be very happy with that one, but Crazy Eyes Do It's going to be loving it. He's been able to pull out a 4-10 gap here.
And I've never seen someone make a little move there on the kind of on the pit exit. It's incredible to have seen that. But either way, we are on the final lap, and Crazy has just about fended off the competition. He's got half a lap to try and defend. I can't really see where Rapid's going to come through. He might try it down into the stadium section, or he might try it on a drag race to the line. But either way, Crazy, he's in the driving seat, he's in prime position, and we'll see if he can carry this all the way to the line. Through turn 9 they come for the final time in this race at Zandvoort. Rapid OG losing a little bit of time on the exit, and he just doesn't look close enough. All 3 of these guys will have wanted the win, but I think they'll all be pleased to have picked up a podium, all 3 of them really, with an up and down evening. No one at the front for a consistent period of time throughout the race, but through the final few corners we come. Crazy, he's got enough. He's not going to be worried about the DRS that Rapid's going to have towards the line. And the Williams driver, he didn't have the best qualifying result, but he's going to win the race here in Zandvoort. Fantastic stuff from him. Rapid OG in P2, Shane in P3. Those 3 drivers in the class of the field. Craggy, oh my word, across the line. Poloski just about beats him up by 24 thousandths of a second. But Craggy's P4, the championship leader, losing a little bit of ground to Shane in the end. But I think he'll be pleased either way with that result. What a race that was, Josh.
Absolutely. Again, just showing us Zandvoort delivers. You know, it showed us last night. It was fantastic. And tonight it's been brilliant once again. Great mix of strategies. Safety cars mixed up the game just a little bit. Tilted it on its head, tilted it sideways, created some great battles all throughout the field with different drives on different tyre compounds, some of which wanting to defend, some of which really trying to push it. It was absolutely fantastic.
And full credit to Crazy, Rapid and Shane for finishing on the podium, particularly to Shane. I mean, he did qualify at the front, but he did end lap 1. Well, he was on lap 2, the end of sector 1, whilst our race leader was starting lap 3, and I think that might have been Rapid, or it might have been Craggy's at the time. But either way, congratulations to all 3 podium sitters. They fully deserve all the points that they will pick up. We're just waiting for Collateral Zoom to come through the final corner, and then we can give you the final classification of race results. And then we'll try and see if we can get any of the drivers in for an interview. But what a result in the end for the Williams team as well. We haven't necessarily seen them too far up the order in the races so far, but they'll be very pleased to pick up all those points.
Yes, absolutely. A nice general helping of points, not only from the race, but of course from the qualifying as well. Brilliant stuff from them. Looking like we will be trying to get an interview with the Williams driver, Crazy. once again celebrating this well-earned win on the podium. It's been a little while coming for him so far this season, but it's beautiful to see him finally reach this top step. Showed you have the pace all along, and this time it was just able to connect it all together. For me, driver of the day.
Yeah, I mean, a fantastic race. I mean, all three of them, fantastic race. Crazy, of course, did pull it off in the end. But I think I'm going to have to put my driver of the day down to Shane. He did qualify on pole, obviously. But that really doesn't tell the story of his race. But Crazy, I do it, I should say, sorry, is your winner. Rapid OG in P2, the Scotsman, just about edging out Shane for P3. Craggy's P4, just off the podium, but still picking up a decent chunk of points with the Canadian Poloski in 5th. Denart and just Komi-san in P6 and 7 with Beast, Crew Steamers and Monster rounding out the points finishes in the top 10. Alfredo, the Venezuelan driver, finishes agonising 11th with Vintage 12th, and Oliver Sequeiro 13th. Couldn't match his heroics from last night. Rapid Go for 14th. Mythbusters in 15th after a couple of disconnects with Alberto Maracucho. Fastest lap, but only 16th. Collateral Zoom came across the line nearly a lap down in 17th, and then we saw Patty Pat retire from the race, along with CJQ and Dom War. So, in the end, Josh, a fantastic evening of racing, a fantastic group of drivers doing some fantastic things around this Zandvoort track. It really kept us on our toes, and it really just opens up a championship battle for the races to come.
Absolutely, it was brilliant. I cannot wait to see how it's all going to work out around Austria. Slightly different, once again, to the Netherlands, but I do believe we've got some drivers ready for some podium interviews, Darragh. Shall we hop over? Hello? Darragh? Oh, no.
Hello?
Hello?
I'm here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. For a moment, I thought we lost you there for a moment. I thought you went into the
I
ether.
was just going to jump across.
Right, okay. Let's jump across into the podium interview room and check on Shane, Rapid and Crazy, see how they found that race went. Right, hello. How are we doing?
How's it going?
Oh, I mean, talk about a race. My word, some of you lot absolutely left it all out on the track there. And Shane, looking at you, I mean, talk us through that race from your perspective. You were here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, start of the race, I would have been disappointed with P3, but I think with how lap 1 went, and being nearly a lap down up until lap 10, I'll take P3. I'm still disappointed at the end there with, I know we're all battling for a win, but I think sometimes space can, I know, yeah, here we're all battling. So, like, you know, I'd have to have a look back when the emotions are a little bit lower, but I'll take P3, and I suppose it brings me a little bit closer to the top of the championship as well. So with Craigie finishing behind, so look at the positives. Yeah, but I need to calm down a little bit after that one. Now I have to say it was very. I'm sure the lads would say the same at the end. You know, it was very intense at the end there with the three of us battling for the win.
Absolutely, well-deserved beverage for yourself after that one. Certainly, no, we need it. Watched it from a commentary box. Our heart rates were going through the roof for you. Rapid as well. To talk us through the race from your point of view, and then we'll hop over to Crazy and ask his point of view. I mean, yeah, Rapid, take us away. Take us on the journey of your race.
Yeah, it was eventful anyway. Getting the jump on Shane at the start was kind of the plan. When I seen he was going on hard, just putting softs on, see if we get the jump on him. Delighted when I seen the two Ferraris kind of almost take each other out. And then, yeah, I just managed to create a gap until the safety cars came out. Probably went on, I don't know, I felt like I went on the wrong strategy until the end there. It was coming to, I think, a lap or two more. I could have probably got Crazy too.
I mean, it was difficult towards the end, wasn't it? I mean, there were so many different strategies at play. But Crazy, you won the race, and, you know, fantastic result for you. I mean, you weren't really up there in that qualifying battle right at the front, but you drove a fantastic race. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, Netherlands is like my favourite track, so I'm quite happy to have a win there. I'm not going to lie, same as what Shane said, it's just that was intense at the end. That was just nuts. Like we were all trying to fight each other and just try and just get that little bit here and there, and it was a good race though. I enjoyed it.
And I mean, for your championship, I mean, you haven't been right up near the front, but the likes of Shane, Craggy's, you've gained points on them this evening. Do you think it kind of opens the door for maybe a bit of a championship run in the final few rounds?
Definitely not. No, because after the tracks after this, I am no good at any of them. So this will be literally that. This is it for me, and then I'll be back down near midfield again.
But I mean, either way, I mean, you still must be pleased. I mean, I know a few drivers who they do like the Netherlands. It's such a specific track, isn't it? Because there isn't really anything like it. But is there any tracks you are looking forward to? You are thinking that, yeah, I can kind of look forward to that race?
I'm trying to think of where we're going to next.
So we've got...
It's Austria. Yeah, you have it, Jay. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got Austria, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Spa-Francorchamps, and Silverstone.
Austria, not too bad, and Abu Dhabi will be okay, but I think after that, then it's going to go downhill.
Right, you've heard it here
especially
first.
Saudi Arabia.
Heard it here first. Crazy I do. It's going to go 3 back-to-back-to-back.
I wish.
But no,
for me, it's like I think Saudi and Qatar are very like kind of. I'm on a pad, so I kind of have that. I feel with the quick change of directions, you're kind of losing a little bit in that. So I'm not really looking forward to them ones. And Austria, I think Austria, because there's only like 9 corners, the delta is so small that there's not many areas you can gain time or lose time. So it's like here, like Zandvoort as well, being a 70-second lap. The field does kind of condense a little bit into each other, and like I think there was a second between like 14 drivers today, and that you're going to probably get an even smaller spread next week. So that's where making sure that you qualify well. Qualifying is more my strength. I would be a better qualifier, say, than my race pace wouldn't be as strong, but it's about not making mistakes and capitalizing on opportunities. Like I know Crazy said this is probably his best track, but he capitalized on it. And that's what you need to do every race, especially fighting for championships. You got to take the wins when they come. But if the best you can get is a P3, then you take the P3 and then you move on to the next one. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
My concern with the run into Belgium. The rest of the tracks I like, but Belgium's just no. Crazy knows all about that. Like me and Belgium just don't get on.
Right, I've said it's a little bit of a story time there, but I have to wait just a little bit longer. Of course, that'll be round 9 of his championship. We've only just done round 4, but Rapid, looking to Austria. Is it a strong suit, or are you very much in the not a fan of the circuit? Delta's too close. I don't trust it.
No, I like Austria. I think if you can keep it in track limits, because obviously it's not just real life. If that's a problem, it's a problem in the game too, because it's a fast-paced track.
Yeah.
That's one of the big issues. If you can.
Sorry, Rapid. I don't think there was any penalties in this race because it's quite easy to stay within track limits. But Austria, your point there is that it's very easy to run by it or put a corner here and there. So the penalties will be a massive factor in Austria compared to here.
In Austria, it's the last 2 corners will get a lot of people. You try and cut the final corner as much as you can, and you run wide in the second to last corner. So track limit's going to be a big thing there. But I like the track, so I'll be aiming for another podium of 3 out of 4 so far. So need that one though.
Just to say, Rapid, on the start there, you were saying there about you were on the softs and noise on the hards there. The softs do go off quite quickly here, so I wasn't necessarily if I got into turn 1 ahead of you, I would have obviously, stayed ahead, defended for a while. But what the plan was, and we'd only said it 5-10 seconds before this for the contact, is I was to let Beast by to try to keep up because he was on softs as well, because we'd split our strategies to try to. He'll be on the hards towards the end, and I'll be on the softs towards the end. But I was letting him by at the next possible opportunity, but unfortunately that opportunity never came about. I'd have to have a look at that one again, but what I was feeling was like 4 or 5 laps into your stint, you were going to start coming back to me, and then my tyres would kind of have the advantage and then try to get track position. And then there is safety cars around as well. If it was an early safety car, I would have tried to extend that hard stint out as long as I could to make the soft stint at the end easier, or if there was a safety car within this medium window, I would have went hard medium. But that was the logic behind it that we were doing, and I wasn't necessarily, once you got up the inside of me in turn 1, I wasn't necessarily then fighting you. I was just trying to get through the first lap and then let Beast Boy probably down the main straight to try to, make you use a bit of battery and make it a little bit more harder for yourself over the first few laps, and then let the race come back to me. But obviously, it went completely off script. But I'm sure it was an entertaining watch for and it was entertaining and it was enjoyable. From my own point of view, even with that. So just great job, guys, and good battling towards the end.
Yeah, you're just like, I get what you're saying with the strategy. Like I say, I went on softs, and then I said crazy. I've probably after the first safety car, when I pitted, I went on hards. I probably should have done mediums, and then hards at the next one.
Yeah,
but look
it's
at
hard for them to
Craggy.
get to the end. They wouldn't, even if you had no safety car, they would have been like at 80%. Because I think hards like 23, 24 laps is where you're really trying to push it to. And at that stage, I think it was like lap 8. So
I went like soft to hards. And at the time, I thought I'd done it wrong, but then looking at the end when I was on mediums and seeing Craigie's falling back quickly on the hards, I thought, I've probably made the right call here. When I pitted onto the mediums, and all you boys in front of me were 5 laps old, I thought that I'm definitely in my chance at podium at least.
Yeah. And I was hoping Craig would have held you up a little bit longer so that myself and Crazy could kind of get a little bit further up the road. That was kind of my thought. But then when I think Crazy got back ahead of me, I think it was like lap 33. I seen you were winning a second, so I was like, right, this is going to be a 3-way now. This one is. So, what was I going to say? I actually planned on going onto the medium after when I pitted with the broken wing at the start. But with what would you say? My distraction with what I didn't change because I was going hard soft. So the next tires on the strategy were soft. So when I boxed, I came out on soft, and I was like, but it actually worked out better because I wouldn't have had the fresh mediums then to get to the end. I would have been on softs. Do you know what I mean? So in a weird way, the incident kind of worked out in a weird way, going back onto the medium rather than having a fresh set of softs and a used set of mediums. So
I know he had a few safety cars, but he's done really well to go from back of the grid after the first lap to
you were
P3 in the end,
Yeah, you were coming out. You said the fastest lap. I think it was like lap 2 or 3, whatever it was. And I was just coming out of turn the bank turn 3, and I was like, he's like a lap ahead of me. But I know it's a 36 lap race. You know what I mean? And I knew there was going to be a safety car, so I'm like, I just got to stay in it.
Yeah, overall, it was a super entertaining race from, the viewer's perspective. And it's awesome to hear you guys enjoyed that one so much. But unfortunately, this is the end of the interview section. This is the end of this Tier 2. Of course, we do have Tier 3 tomorrow being raced here at PRL. Fortunately, not broadcast, but again, certainly going to be something for some of these drivers, maybe to try and instruct a couple of the junior drivers, which might be looking to try and make their way up to Tier 2 next season as well. Ample opportunities all throughout the grid. Thank you, all of you guys, for coming into this interview, sharing your thoughts, sharing your experiences. It's been a pleasure hearing from all of you. So, in a nice, well-rounded way, do you want to end the stream for us?
I think the race winner. Yeah,
come on, Crazy.
How do you want me to end it?
Thank you for watching. It's been a blast.
So
subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications. Give it your all.
Yeah, let's go for that, shall we? So thanks everyone for watching. This will be the first and only time you'll ever see me here. So thanks for having me. And please tune in next week for Austria's fun, both Tier 1 and Tier 2.
Brilliant.